Hi, welcome to the spring term of ICT 4010, Enterprise Architecture. My name is Professor Rick Bauer. I'll be your guide and instructor for this course. We have two different sections, one that is completely asynchronous. You work self-guided with a little bit of help from me. And then secondly, there'll be one that's a hybrid class where we meet roughly every other week, and then the other weeks you'll be working on your own. The content is so similar that we can talk about the class regardless of the particular modality. You can see the syllabus, other information about me. Please check out my LinkedIn page. I love linking in with my students. It's been a good opportunity for me to follow your careers, and at the right time, if you need it, to put in a good word or some guidance. It's a great reward for me personally. I will not sell you anything or get you to invest or do any weird social media. It's the only social media I do, and I think it's part of the business continuing resume and the continuing search for better and more challenging work. Let's talk a little bit about ICT 4105. Here's the agenda that we're just going to spend a few minutes on this. I've already told you a little bit about me. We'll talk about the syllabus, what makes this class different and how to be successful in it. And then this coming week, we jump into the subject of enterprise architecture. I say enterprise architecture for the terrified because a lot of times people hear it, they see that it's required, and they fear it. And I want to take some of the complexity out of this because my goal is to get you ready for when you need this, and it may be years from now. What we'll look at are some timeless principles and some regular current standards. And the standards and the frameworks will change. The principles will be timeless. I guarantee you that, from 35 years of doing this and 5 years of teaching this course. I'm very excited to teach this particular term because this is the course that I got to redesign based on my own experience, based on current textbooks and information and best practices. And so I'm very excited to bring it up to speed. Previous version didn't even have cloud or mobility or some other things, so we're definitely going to be looking at that, at least in terms of the content. The book for this course is a new book. I know the writer from his professional work as well as his work in education in Australia, and I think Seb's book, The Practice of Enterprise Architecture, is the best book we can get for this particular course. It's uncomplicated but technically thorough, and that's hard to do. It's hard to be clear and thorough and yet not get lost in the weeds, and usually you get one or the other. One that's just platitudes like you have to connect. The other is like, multi-factor authentication and encryption, latency over long-haul interconnects or something like that, which is important, but not right now. Anyway, Seb is refreshingly respectful of the jive and the hyperbole in this enterprise, particularly with regard to the consultancy business. There's a lot of money to be made consulting people who are confused about enterprise architecture. If you never ever take that kind of responsibility, sooner or later, as you rise up through company and responsibility, IT and the business will need to be aligned. And I want to give you some just bedrock foundational information to be able to help you understand what you need to look for, because it's your company and you get the enterprise architecture you ask for. And so it's important. We can't, as somebody said, IT is so important, we can't just leave it to the IT people anymore. And by the way, I was the CIO. I've run IT for decades, so I'm not trying to knock IT, but getting that alignment, the business and the IT support for that is just really crucial. if you're ever thinking about working in this space, this is a valuable book that you'll go back to again and again. We're going to assign some of the readings. We're not going to have you read it cover to cover, but it will be worth their weight in gold. Here's the question we ask. We're going to give you the answer right away. Does enterprise architecture need standards and frameworks? Things like this standard you're going to meet later called TOGAF. Sounds like some embarrassing foot disease, but it's just, we'll learn a little bit about it later, but TOGAF. Or does IT just need to listen better to the business? Which of those is right? And the answer is yes. Frameworks, standards, we can't live without them. And I've worked in standards in 2 or 3 different major networking and storage standards in my life. So I know how important they are, but I also know that absent communication, sometimes standards are just a way of obscuring rather than informing what needs to take place. Here's the syllabus. A lot of things in mind. Check the modality, invest and read through it. You've got 10 major things that are going on this term. We'll get into them, but read that over in the syllabus. Here it is. You want to know what enterprise architecture is? It comes down to Professor Bauer's Big Four. The Final Four, as we get ready for that in the NCAA basketball tournament. The Final Four, and every one of those is important. Number one, what do we have? What's our IT operation like? What are our business needs? Where do we need to go? What's our goal? Where do we need to go in terms of profitability and products and sales areas and the growth of the business? How do we do that? There's a mismatch between the IT that we have and the IT that we need to get to go where we need to go based on our goals. There's always that gap, and how do we get there? And then how much does it cost? And that's important too, in money and increasingly in just time, because time to deploy is a killer. And a lot of times projects fail because they lose momentum, they lose deliverables, and more than anything else, they lose respect. So if you get to where you're driving something like that, these are the 4 things. You're going to learn a whole lot of other things, but these are the ones that I'm going to give you without charge, other than your tuition. So, concluding, let's talk about keys for success. This is an incremental course. I mean, a lot of courses at DU and the ICT program are, but what you learn in the first week, you're going to need to build upon. You're going to need to build Chapter 2 and Module 2 and Module 3 on it. And so you skip through it, or you think, it's a reading, it's kind of optional. These are mandatory readings for a reason. I got a chance to redesign this course the way I think people learn. I'm a learning designer in a second career, and I've been teaching here at DU for 5 years, and I've had the chance to redesign a number of courses. So I'm very persnickety about how we do things, and process is important. Don't confuse the mere reading in the assignment with a writing assignment, because so often the writing builds upon what you were supposed to have read for that week or previous weeks. The major assignment, the big burrito in this class, is a case study. It's about 6 weeks long. And each module in that 6 weeks is another building block in how to construct this overall enterprise architecture for a merged set of insurance companies. It's really interesting. You may not think so, but because you're taking this class, it has to be. There's a grade, if nothing else, there's a grade invested in this. My only wish for you is to do your work every week. I've sadly had to give failing grades to a couple of folks who thought they could whip all this together in the final week, submit the final assignment, and make up for missing things along the way, and it doesn't work that way. It's structured so you put in work each week. The old story about the tortoise and the hare is really valuable in this case. So get to know everybody, jump in, don't be afraid. This is, if you have a little bit of fear, it's a good thing. Get your adrenaline going, and you're going to learn something. And I guarantee you put in the time to this, you're going to walk away with not just information, but wisdom. And that's the critical coin of the realm here. Introduce yourself and get going on week 1 activities. I'm looking forward to meeting you online, meeting you face to face in some of the courses, some of the hybrid sessions. I'll do a roadmap from time to time each week. That'll be just a quick 4 or 5 minute video to walk you through the assignment. So even if we don't meet, you get a sense of how to get around it. And as we get toward the end of the course, we'll probably have a Zoom session for the asynchronous group. Your time, your call. Certainly not mandatory, anything like that, but just how to put the final assignment together. This is an assignment for your portfolio. So especially if you're planning on using this with your management, with getting a raise, or with interviewing for a new job, this will be important. Anyway, best of luck, do the work. It's spring, and that means it'll stop snowing sometime in June if you live here in the Colorado area. Bye-bye now.